Why do people in rich countries rent instead of buying a house? Imagine if you had millions of rupees, a good job, and you could easily buy a house, then would you buy a house or rent? The biggest advantage of renting is, imagine if a person spends 1 crore rupees to buy a house. What would happen if he invested the same money somewhere else? Millions of people in the rich countries of the world who earn millions of rupees prefer to rent instead of buying a house. Why is that? And another surprising question, if renting is so common, then should we all do the same? In this video, we will understand this secret. But in the end, I will tell you a fact that might change your mind about buying a house. Think for a moment. If buying a home were the best decision, then why do so many people in rich countries live in rentals? For example, nearly half of the population in Germany lives in rentals. And even in countries like the United States and Canada, millions of people don't buy their own homes. Why is that? To understand the answer, we first need to understand a big fact. Most of us at our childhood, having your own home is success. But many financial experts in the world say that sometimes buying a house can even reduce financial freedom. Why? Because after buying a house, you don't just have to pay the price. You have to pay property taxes, repair costs, insurance, and many years of debt. But here, another question arises. If buying a house is difficult, then what is the advantage of living in a rental that even rich people prefer? The biggest advantage of renting is financial freedom. Imagine if a person spends 1 crore rupees to buy a house. What would happen if he invested the same money somewhere else? For example, business, investment, education, then perhaps that money can grow many times over. That is why many people use their capital elsewhere instead of buying a house. But here is another interesting question. If renting is so beneficial, then why do people dream of buying a house? We will understand the answer to this in a moment. In rich countries, people often change cities for their jobs. Today one city, tomorrow another city. If you have bought a house, then it becomes difficult to move every time. But if you are living in a rented house, then you can easily change cities. That is why many people give more importance to flexibility in their lives. But here is another important question. If everyone lives in a rented house, then is there no harm in it? Of course there is. There are some disadvantages of renting. The first disadvantage, the house is never yours. You pay rent every month, but the ownership belongs to someone else. The second disadvantage, the rent can increase over time. The third disadvantage, you don't have complete freedom in some places. For example, making changes to the house, having pets. But now the most important question, if there are disadvantages of renting, then why do millions of people in rich countries still choose this path? This is the part that very few people understand. Some parents, instead of buying a house, invest their money in their children's future. For example, the best schools, universities, skills. In rich countries, parents understand that the biggest investment is not the house, but the education of their children. That is why they rent in areas where the schools are better. But now, in the end, a very important question remains. The real question is not whether it is better to buy a house or rent. The real question is, how do you use your money? If you buy a house and end your financial freedom, is that really the best decision? Or is it wiser to use your money better by renting? The truth is that every person's situation is different. For some people, buying a home is the best decision, and for others, renting may be more beneficial. But the most important thing is, the decision should not be made based on emotions, but on wisdom and information.